Okay, hello, good morning. Still kind of setting up, but I'm back for, I guess, an AM stream. Um, Kind of have the house to myself right now because my wife is down in Durham doing a show. And so I've got some free time, and so I'm gonna stream down here for a bit until maybe around lunchtime or whenever. And then I'm going to do some chores. But I have a special guest with me. You kind of can't see him right now, but it's my pup, Angus. I figured that since I didn't want him to be upstairs all alone by himself in the upstairs, I would bring him down here and he could keep me company while I streamed. He's not been in the basement very often, and so he was very curious for a bit, looking around, trying to see if there's anything fun to look at while he was here. But he's kind of mellowing out, and now he's just chilling with me while I paint. And he heard his name, so he hopped up, and now I'm petting him. So just, hey, Pilky, good afternoon. I got my pet dog with me down here today. I can't really show camera of him because I don't have that set up, but I didn't want to just leave him upstairs by himself since my wife's not home. And so he's chilling down here with me today. Yep. I mean, he's technically not a puppy anymore. He's like 9 years old, which, for a bulldog is getting up there, but he's got the health of a pup. Oh, Angus, don't sit on the concrete. You want to sit on the bed I brought down, buddy? Actually, I wonder if there's a way for me to do like a quick feed with the webcam camera that I have. Though to be honest, it's really always a puppy. Yeah, it's pretty dark down here, other than my studio lights. So it doesn't really matter how it looks. It's gonna look really dank and dark down here, even though I promise you it's not that bad. Okay. Plug that in. Hopefully that doesn't mess with the capture too much. Let's see if I can get a secondary video capture on here. Video capture device, video capture 2. I'm going to go ahead. That is not what you need. We need the Logi webcam. And that seems to be working even though it's in my hand. Let's see. Where's the pup? There you go. Angus. Angus, buddy. There you go. Hello. Hey, Angus. Who's a good boy? The lighting's really harsh right now because it's all my desk lighting. But, yep, there's the boy. We got him a little doggy bed back here. So that way he can chill, but he just wants to be with Dad right now. You're a good boy, little guy. He's a good boy. He's just excited to get the attention. Because normally I disappear down here for a few hours, and he's kind of left up there wondering what to do with himself. Good boy, Angus. Good boy, little guy. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop out. Oh. I need to find a way to hook up like a kitty cam or something, like what Doig and Swift have. But I don't let my cat down here because we've got glue traps for the spider crickets that tend to find their way into the basements around this area. And yeah, I don't want my cat to get stuck to a glue trap. Who's a good boy? Okay. So I've been working on these for a friend's wife. I've got these Zephyrim. She specifically asked for silver armor and purple robes, and I'm not done with them yet. They've gotten to the point where they've been base coated and washed, but I don't think the purple is really showing up. I don't think it's popping enough, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do some dry brushing and highlighting to bring it back out a little more. But other than that, I'm going to do some neat basing. I've been using paper clips as a form of armature wire. And so what I think I'm going to do is use some paper clips, and I'm going to stick them with cotton, right? And that way I can kind of emulate some like jet exhaust coming out of their jetpacks, and we'll see how that looks. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. How have you been? I know I popped into your channel a couple times to say that I'm finally not dead anymore, but it feels like I haven't really talked to a lot of my friends on here in a while. Where you going, buddy? Always sniffing around over near the resin stuff. Speaking of resin, I forgot that I got these when I went to Emerald City Comic Con over the summer. But there was someone there that was selling injected thermoplastic minis, and I don't know if you've heard about those, but they're using new technology. Goobertown Hobbies has kind of highlighted them on one of his streams. Oh, that's good to know. Glad you're painting again. I remember you talking about that you got your painting setup all ready to go, so you're ready to start painting again, and that's always cool. Yeah, I'd never seen one up until I finally went to that thing and saw that they had one. So I decided I was going to go over there and buy one just to see how they looked. And I'm very impressed, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to replace the regular plastic molds anytime soon, unless this is just a poor example. But I got this Vampire Lord, and he looks pretty darn good. He's light. He seems to be fairly durable. But you can tell it came out of a mold. You know what I mean? Like the fact that his right hand, his fingers kind of flatten out as they get pressed into the cape, while the other hand, there's some definite mold lining going on there. This model in particular doesn't seem to be of incredible detail, which is all fine. It's definitely solid. Actually, I can see the indentations from the 3D print that they got this out of. I think there are definitely ridge lines there, but I'm not upset. If this becomes the new wave, it's definitely more than detailed enough to do so. It's just that I don't know. It still hasn't reached that level of detail that I would hope to see from something that I've heard is going to almost replace how things are currently done. And then in contrast, here's an old resin mold that they did, and it's more about lowering the cost of the plastic. The new molds only cost a few $100s rather than hundreds of thousands, definitely. And if that's the case, because I've also heard that it's renewable, right? Like you can reuse the extra bits and they melt down and then they can go back to being part of the injection process. And if that's the case, I'm all for it. I don't care if the molds don't look as good. I'd rather we have, a more sustainable business model than my little plastic soldiers looking all pretty, right? So I'm trying to think, how do I want to go about this? Because it took me a couple of hours to get this one done, and I'm not even sure if I'm happy with her. I did a lot of highlighting to get her back to where she was. I did a lot of repainting to try and bring back out some of the color on her. I feel like in some cases even her purples aren't bright enough, but we're getting some really stark lighting from all of my lighting in here. But that's about where she is. And these are ones that I just GW has optimized the plastic process. They can do injection molding at scale. This is going to be better for smaller scale shops. Yeah, definitely. Especially ones like this one. They had a really cool booth at ECCC, but I'd never really heard of them up until I went there. So my hope is that it creates a lower entry point for studios trying to get into the business like that. They're probably a lot bigger than I know. I'm not exactly a tabletop gaming aficionado, but my hope is that it ends well and it allows more people to make more games for people who like games. But yeah, I kind of wish that GW with their mass injection molding would be able to lower the prices of their damn minis, but that's just me being salty. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything I could do to make these things pop a little more? Because I'm going through them to kind of investigate. Oh yeah, I probably ought to finish her head. I needed to come up with a faction logo for my Votann. Given part of the lore, they're mining a bright orange mineral. I came up and this is the stylized crystal pickaxe logo that's fairly easy to freehand. Oh yeah, no, that's great. I really like that. I think it looks, aesthetically, it looks like that could come from... It is a little bit of the camera, because all of the lights that I have are hitting it really direct. But at the same time, there's nothing really bright on here, except for the silver, so the fact that all the light is hitting the gunmetal silver that I've got on them is definitely messing with their color. Nothing, but you are right. The purple does not pop on them at all. It just kind of blends in with the other darker colors. So I should probably go back, and they're a little too small to dry brush. I might just have to go back and manually paint them up, which is fine. I can do it. But yeah, that logo that you've chosen, or that you've designed, looks like it could have come out of the Votan Codex. That's a really good one. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit all of the high spots of their armor again with a silver, and then I'm going to go ahead and repaint over some of the purples with a brighter purple. But first, especially because I forgot about it, I probably ought to paint this one's face. Completely forgot to do so. Though she is really cool looking as kind of this ashen-faced warrior, I think I want to go ahead and give her a little more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. Oh no, she fell. I am going to dry brush the power swords again. I did that with this one, and I really like how the power sword came out. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the rest of them. And actually, I'm going to go and put these ones over here. I'm still trying to figure out a good just recipe for, or general use recipe for power swords, so I don't have to throw everything I can into each one of them at any given time. But yeah, it's been about a week since I stopped taking my medication that they put me on for my blood pressure, and I haven't felt better. I feel pretty fantastic, so I'm going to go ahead and chalk up the feeling of death to the fact that they had me on some blood pressure medication that had my blood pressure way too low. And so hopefully, there's not going to be any adverse effects, because I'm also exercising more again. I was too exhausted to do even that over the past month. And so now that Soft Servo has a little bit more free time, we're going back to like the boxing and whatnot. He did mention that his Apple Watch that he's using for his fitness tracking, this is not the one I wanted, is telling him that his cardiovascular health needs some work. So he wants to do a lot more of that kind of high intensity stuff to work on his heart health, which is great because that's exactly what I need. So hopefully we're able to do that and get ourselves in slightly better physical condition. I've been feeling tired of late because I haven't been walking for the 2 weeks while your foot healed. Yeah, understandable. That's always the worst part, right? When you stop doing the exercising, your body kind of shuts down because it realizes that it doesn't need to have that kind of energy, and then you end up feeling lethargic. So that's kind of what happened to me when I was really exercising. I was high energy. I had a lot, but once I stopped, it became really difficult to pick it back up. So hopefully that won't be the case with you. Hopefully once you start back up, you're gonna just fly out of your seat and be ready to go. So I remember you talking about having some issues with your foot. Do you know what exactly it was? Was it just a walking injury, or only a 20-30 minute power walk each day? Yeah, I know, right? But that's what they recommend? It's like 20 to 30 minutes of mild, mid to intense activity is more than enough to get your heart working again. Like really working. So it is stunning how much that little bit of extra work can really make a difference. I mean, I even kind of did that because I used to take the elevator at my school when I'd get there in the morning, because I was usually carrying a backpack full of my laptop and whatnot and my lunchbox. And since I run a club, I stumbled on my ankle a few weeks ago, but you tweak the muscles and tendons in the arch of your foot. Yeah, that'll do it. At least you're also well aware enough to give it ample time to rest. Too many people I know get too into their rhythm, and then they're like, well, I don't want to rest. I'm going to ruin my stride. And then they aggravate it worse. And obviously that creates even more problems. So good on you for taking care of yourself. Way to go. Now, when you get back to your walking, your foot will be fully healed and you won't re-aggravate the injury. hopefully. I was bad about that. That's what led to my sciatica issues. And so I've tried to be better. One of the things that still is not healed that I probably should get seen, like really, really seen, or at least start going to an actual therapist for, is my shoulder. My left shoulder has been bad now for close to 6 years, in that I have limited range of motion with it, and it has almost no physical strength. And so there's a lot of things I can't do with my left arm that I used to be able to do. Like, I can't do, I mean, this one's kind of odd to say, but I can't do pull-ups. I used to do pull-ups as part of my physical exercise, and I can't hold my weight with that shoulder anymore, the way I can with my right shoulder. I can walk on, it's just a case of getting the occasional stabbing pain. Thankfully, it seems that walking on level ground isn't fine. At least now that is fine. It's going up and down stairs that aggravates it. Yeah. I went to a doctor about it and got some scans, and they said there was nothing like wrong with it, but they suggested going to a physical therapist. And I feel bad because this is the lamest excuse, but this kind of tells you what the American healthcare system is like. I just don't feel like I have the time or the money to do it. Because I've got a health savings account and a deductible, but it just feels like that's going to be a lot of money out of that account that I don't want to have missing in case I have a more major emergency. Because I don't want to say I work in a dangerous occupation, because that sounds awful. But there's enough violent activity at the school that I would really fear, not even being part of a scuffle, but being near one. And as I try and help get kids back to where they're supposed to be, I get shoved and then fall down a flight of stairs. And then I really hurt myself, and now I don't have the money to afford the medical bills because I was worried about a tweaked left shoulder. And the more I think about what I just said, the more I realize how absolutely dystopian that sounds. A school teacher is so worried about getting injured while on the job trying to manage a fight that they're afraid of getting pushed down the stairs and not having the medical or the medical insurance to pay for it. But yeah, that's kind of the situation. I'm really lucky in that I'm a generally well-liked individual at school. I'm guessing it'd be more expensive over there. You can get 1 hour private phys appointment for 40 to 80 pounds, $50 to $100. Yeah. I actually don't know. I mean, I went to a doctor's appointment, not a doctor's appointment. When I went to get my second opinion about the blood pressure meds, with the copay, it was $172. Not the copay, the whatever it's called. I don't know my insurance well, but I looked at the bill, and it was supposed to be something like $220, but because of my insurance, it was knocked down to about $176. And yeah. That's with that sweet government healthcare too. So I'm very leery about spending it what I would consider needlessly, which is the absolute worst, because that's what kind of makes the healthcare wonderful in European countries. Is as much as America wants to complain about long lines and whatnot, is that typically you guys are able to go to seek help when you have minor bumps and bruises, or when you just need to get a checkup, because you're not afraid of having to pay through the nose for it, and that tends to be very preventative, right? Instead of waiting for the engine to break down, you can kind of keep checking on the engine so that you can stop any problems before it becomes a major breakdown. Like, that's my understanding with Japanese healthcare, that's my understanding with most European healthcare. And that's a phenomenal system. But in America, our insurance is very much tied to our employer. So we're scared to do anything that could get us fired or released, because then we lose our health insurance, right? And no one wants to not have health insurance when you're unemployed or looking for a new job.
I am going way too detailed on this woman's face, given that she's just a line trooper. And I'm getting some most of my prescriptions, I pay £30 every 3 months for unlimited prescriptions. Good lord, that's pretty fantastic. I will say that is something that I feel like I'm getting a decent deal on, but that's also because my prescriptions aren't for anything major. For the something is really thrashing on my what song is that? Oh, it's Save Me From Myself. Okay. For my blood pressure medication, for my cholesterol medication, and for like an emergency allergy medication. I think I'm paying a grand total of like $2 on it because my health insurance is covering the rest. And I feel like, well, I know for a fact, I'm incredibly privileged because, yeah, the government health insurance that I have is really helping with those costs because I think normally it would be close to $80 or $90. But because of the health insurance, I'm not paying much of anything. Okay, let's see if I'm not bleary-eyed, too bleary-eyed to try and get her eyes. You know, eyes are the bane of every model painter's existence. I was kind of tickled. Most of my friends now know that I'm doing the miniature painting thing. A friend linked me to something I might find interesting. Cool. Let's see what you got. Okay, come on. Try not to give her googly eyes. Try not to give her googly eyes. Try not to give her googly eyes. Come on, white. Come on, white. Yeah. That almost looks good. A bunch of my friends have sent me the same meme of Gollum. Red armor recipe. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that earlier today on the Reddits. And I meant to save it, and I didn't. But yeah, I absolutely love when these incredibly talented painters finally kind of pull back the curtain a little, and they're like, "Yeah, this is how I do things." And I tend to save those as often as I find them. So thank you. Thank you for sending that out and reminding me about it. But a bunch of friends have sent me the same meme of Gollum. And it's him looking at something. I don't remember what the scene is or if it's been photoshopped, but it's him looking down at something with an intense concentration, and like his teeth are he's kind of biting down really hard and trying to really focus in on something. And the camera zooms in with every panel to show the intense amount of focus, and then the last panel is him painting a lens on a space marine. I got it. That actually looks pretty good. And it tickles me because I looked at it and went, I'm beyond that level. Painting lenses on space marines aren't exactly difficult to me anymore. Now it's all about trying to get these little beetly eyes on these heroic scale humans. I can't even imagine trying to paint these things on the original models. To be honest, my thing has become, especially on these kind of guys, is like, I don't really care if the eyes are big enough. I'm going to make them beady so they look like they're absolutely insane. That turned out far better than it had any right to turn out. I'm actually not mad at that. But yeah, I'm just... What else can I do with her? I think she's going to have to do the gray hair. And then I'll highlight back up to white. But I remember, I think I showed it on this channel many months ago. But one of my first examples of just how incredibly complex heavy metal painters go. One of them posted a recipe for how they got orc skin. Because they definitely don't follow the recipes on the box. That's just supposed to help you get to an approximation. And so, it was like a 12-step process to do the orc's face. And it's so overwhelming to look at, especially if you're a novice painter. Though the message isn't like, this is what your standard should be, right? It's more like, this is what a display level, box art level painter does to get to that box art level of detail. And so I'm not going to say it was discouraging, but it's just like, yeah, they're working a lot harder. Like, and I hope so, because sometimes yeah, they have it in White Dwarf. That's pretty neat. I probably ought to subscribe to White Dwarf just because I'm interested enough, and I feel like I know a lot. Like I've mentioned before, I know a lot about the Horus Heresy because I've read so many of the damn books, but I know very, very little about actual 40k lore. I know the snippets that I get off the internet. I know snippets about like the memes and whatnot, but actual 40k lore and how the Imperium and the galaxy is kind of working today, I'm fairly clueless. And so I think getting something like White Dwarf, where they have those little bits about the fictions and the sub-factions and the custom factions people are doing, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad place for me to really kind of brush up on that knowledge without having to... I was about to say without having to spend too much, but I'm talking about getting a subscription to White Dwarf. I'm going to have to spend money. But I don't know. It's just a thought. I do know that the new Arcs of Omen thing they're doing is really heckin' neat, and I wish I knew more about that. I'm really impressed with their business decision to finally move the timeline forward, starting with 8th edition. Because that's my understanding, is for the longest time it was always on like the 11th hour, and everything was supposed to all be happening around the same time, so all the stories were just snipped from the timeline and yada yada. And starting with 8th edition, they really decided, now we're going to move the timeline forward. Which definitely has shaken things up a lot. This is not a very good job painting her head. I'm gonna have to give her a wash of some kind, because I'm not happy with how this is turning out. Don't like that. I was actually given a couple of White Dwarfs by a friend because he meets up with his friends like once a year in something that they jokingly call BoonCon, because it takes place out in the boonies. They've been stuck in 49999. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's happened, right? With the Indominus Crusade and Gilliman coming back and all that fun stuff. They've started accelerating the timeline. So like Arcs of Omen is supposed to be new, and of course the Chapter Master Volrak won't shut up about the Lion coming back, because all hints are pointing to the Lion is coming back, and we just got the Angry Man back. A lot of neat stuff is happening, and it's hopefully drawing more interest back into the hobby. Though I was listening to something, and I'm pretty sure you agree with this, oh my god, I forgot his name. Arbiter Ian was talking about one of like the worst things about 40k is that the barrier to entry is just obscene and ridiculous and awful. And there's really no way to play the game casually until you have like 2,000 points, and that's an incredible investment to have for a game like Warhammer. So something that he talked about was just wishing that there was a better way to enter into, have like an on-ramp to the game where you can kind of stick around at and not have to invest more if you want to do more than just... They're trying, and I think that's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like shame on GW for not being better about it, but I do kind of agree that even things like boarding actions is incredibly expensive, and Kill Team is incredibly expensive. So, and I mean, something he said, and I'm not sure how much I agree with it, is that Kill Team is just kind of this thing that experienced, established players are switching to, and so they're bringing all of that knowledge and context with them, and so it's it's still really tough for newer players to kind of sink their teeth into. And boarding action is kind of the same thing. I think they're going to be working on that with 10th, right? Because it sounds like they're really simplifying 10th. I cannot get the left side of her face. I'm really mad that I put her darn helmet, or put her darn head in this thing, in the slot where I cannot reach the left side of her face. That's gonna have to do. And I know it's a completely different game, but like, and it's the only other one I have a lot of context in, but like Magic, for example. Magic the Gathering, you could spend like $20 on a deck, and because of how many different formats there are in the game, you could never spend another penny. And that $20 deck is going to be perfectly fine. And of course, I'm talking about something like Commander, which is meant to be a more casual format anyway, right? There's really nothing like that, and there's no user base like that in Warhammer. And even if you spend more for like a $40 Commander deck, so you feel like you've got a little bit more oomph, or a little bit more powerful a deck, again, you can just stick with that and never spend any more money, and you're good to go. But if you want to, if you decide you want to make that financial commitment, you can pump more money into that deck, or you can go into another format like Modern, which is a hefty financial investment, and then there's going to be an audience for that. But it just kind of feels like with Warhammer, there's the intro stuff, and then you gotta go more expensive. And even the intro stuff has a fairly high barrier to entry because it's all at least $100, right? Or around that price point. So I applaud that Games Workshop seems to recognize that and is trying to find ways to create a lower barrier of entry for their players. 40K is always going to be inherently more expensive. One is printed cards, the other is minis, paints, and rulebooks. Exactly, yeah. And so it's almost comparing apples to oranges there. And I get that. But I mean, the other thing about Magic is that, like, people overvalue their card stock just a little too much. Because, like, even trying to do any kind of organized play outside of Commander, you're going to have to make an investment to a degree that's very similar, if not exceeding Warhammer. Because, like, if I want to play Standard, which is the cheapest, the entry level format for most people, if you want to play Standard at a high level, you're basically buying or at a competitive level, even at a tournament level. You're going to be spending at least $200 to $300. So that's about the entry point of Warhammer, but it's not the only entry point of Warhammer. I mean, of Magic. So yeah, I mean, I know it's comparing something with a much lower materials cost, but that's where the problem kind of lies, is that in both games, I feel, especially with Magic, is that people because, like, at the higher level the game uses cash prizes and whatnot, people are incentivized to spend a lot of money to get the best cards that they can. So like, I have a card in one of my decks that has inflated to the price that I could probably buy a 1,000-point army in Warhammer with it. And that's just silly. Card stock should not be worth that much money. I don't know. I think it's just that what bugs me most about it is just that the entry level of Warhammer is, and it's not even just the financials, it's just the game itself is so inherently expensive that it really prices out the audience that they probably want to have the most of, right? Like, you'd figure that the big grab or the big audience that you would want for any kind of game would be young adults and kids. But Warhammer really prices itself out of that price range and makes it really difficult to have as an on-ramp. At least from my experience. You know, I work at the high school, and I work with the Tabletop Gaming Club, and they want to play Warhammer. They see the models that I don't want to say names, that Soft Servo and I have, and that another teacher that we're friends with has, and they're like, man, that's freaking cool. And they see the lore videos that, you know, Adeptus Ridiculous and Arbiter Ian and whatnot are putting out, and they're really engaged in it. But the idea of having to spend $60 to get one squad to play something like Kill Team is really daunting to them. And so the only reason they've been able to even touch the game is because Games Workshop sent that club thing where you got to paint one model, and the magazine had like cutouts of Necrons for you to fight. And so I don't know. I wish that there was a much lower, more casual barrier to entry for Warhammer, and I hope that eventually, I think me painting over her hair with that gray glaze actually made her hair look pretty good. So I think I accidentally made her hair look fine. Yeah, that's my one big thing. That's the one thing I wish that Games Workshop would do. Even if they didn't really fix anything else, because I do, as a player, I've got a million complaints for the game because I'm a player of the game. But if there was one thing that if I wish they could just dedicate the next 3 or 4 years to, I don't care if it takes that long, just lowering the barrier of entry and creating an environment or a version of the game that can be enjoyed at a very low price. If they did that, I'd be happy. Because I want my high school kids, teenage students to be able to enjoy this game at least to some level similar to how I enjoy the game. Hey Montravon, how you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you. Wow. Welcome to the stream. I'm just complaining about Games Workshop prices and barriers of entry. Where you going, buddy? I've got my pup down here, and he's just started to wander. Okay. Purple. I need purple. That's right. That's what I'm doing. Lots to do at work at the moment. Well, at least you're staying busy. I'm home alone right now. My wife is at a convention tabling, and because it started on Friday, she didn't want to bring me and make me miss more work. So I'm home with my pets and just kind of chilling and vibing and painting. Though I will say, and this might be too much information, it might not. Well, actually, no, it's going to be fine. I found that I had some coupons that I could use to get some carryout or some takeout, right? And I haven't had takeout in a while because partially budgetary constraints and partially just my wife doesn't like a lot of that food, and so I don't order it simply because it feels like a waste of money unless I'm paying for a couple of people's meals, right? And I noticed that one of the pizza restaurants, Papa John's, had a pretty good deal on pizza. So I was hungry when I got home, and I started looking at the menu, and I started just kind of putting things in the cart to see, do I want to buy this? Is this what I want to have for dinner? And I noticed it was trying to pay with a debit card that I don't have anymore. So I went in and tried to change it to PayPal. And when I change it to PayPal, it usually asks, do you want to pull from the PayPal account or do you want to pull from the bank account that you've got attached, right? And I don't have a lot of money in the PayPal account right now, so I wanted to switch it over. So I hit OK, thinking it was going to take me to the next menu. And instead, it just was like, okay, your order's in. It'll be here in an hour and a half. And I had like $50 worth of pizza in there. So I accidentally ordered $50 worth of Papa John's last night. And thankfully, I have that money. It wasn't that big a problem. It was just like, I don't want $50 worth of, hey, Tobacco, how's it going? Yeah, I don't want $50 worth of Papa John's, please. And I don't have great experiences with the Papa John's next to my house, because the last time I ordered from them, I was trying to get an order ready because I had a friend coming over that evening. It was soft servo. We were actually going to install his new graphics card because I helped him purchase a graphics card so he could play Darktide. At least pizza could be put in the fridge and eaten later. Yeah, that's the one saving grace. But yeah, we were gonna get his computer all set up, and then we were gonna play Darktide, and we were gonna go ahead and have some pizza since he was coming over to hang out and do that, right? And usually on pretty much any other restaurant app, you can be like, when do you want this delivered? Do you want it delivered now? Do you want it delivered at a different time? Tell us. But as soon as I went to move to the next thing, it did the same thing. It was like, okay, your order's in the oven. It'll be here in an hour. And thankfully my wife was home, but it was noon and we weren't going to be back and ready to eat until like 6 p.m. So I called them to be like, hey, I placed this order and I didn't want this order now. I wanted this order in like 6 hours. Can you please reschedule it for 6 hours? And the poor guy on the other line, he kind of spilled way too much information, but he immediately started going into, I've got a million things I'm doing right now, and he listed them off because I think he's had too many people yell at him in the past, which is awful. But he's like, hey, can you call me back in like 15 minutes and remind me, because I can't deal with it right now. And I went, okay, cool, yeah, definitely. And so we hung up and I waited for like 15 minutes, called him back, and he basically gave me the same spiel, but the queue had gotten longer. He had many more things that he needed to worry about. And so he said, you know what, call me back in 10 minutes. I'll when I get to it on the line, I'll go ahead and cancel the order, and you can call me to make sure. And so I told him, yeah, definitely. You sound like you're under a lot of stress right now, so thank you. And we hung up. And I waited for about 10 minutes, and I tried to call him, and no one answered. And then I looked on the app, and I saw that it was already out for delivery. So, thankfully my wife was home, or else there would have been like $30 worth of pizza sitting on my front porch for 6 hours. And, yeah. I basically realized that I was not going to get any help from him last night, so I just kind of accepted my fate and waited for the pizza. And it ended up being like 2 pizzas and 3 sides because I was really hungry. And I made the mistake of eating a ton of pizza last night after not eating fast food for almost a year. So I'm definitely feeling it today. Word of the wise, guys, don't eat a lot of pizza after not eating fast food for like a year. Your stomach will not like you. Okay, that definitely brought more purple out. I don't know if this is showing up too well on your on the camera because of just how bright some of my light sources are, but let's hope. Yeah, a little bit. Does that look a little more purple to you guys? I know, right? It's like drinking a 6-pack after not drinking for a year. I don't know. I think I need to brighten this up even further, because while for me I can definitely tell that there's highlights of purple on her, it's still not popping the way I hoped it would pop. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a little bit of white, which I know is just going to desaturate the color, but that's fine. I'm going to add some highlights in here to bring out the purple even more. I had a friend who made that mistake. It wasn't a 6-pack, but he used to go hiking a lot, and so he knows how to hike, and he brought a lot of canned food and a lot of the types of food you're supposed to eat while out on a hike, right? And it was up and down the Appalachian Trail, which is, if you don't know, that's a fairly long mountain range that's been around for way long. It's older than Bones, which I think is kind of cool. Like, it's literally older than the development of like Bones in the history of the world. But it's a famous trail to go down in the United States on the East Coast. And so he hiked most of that with his friends. And they basically ate a lot of canned food. And when they would go to, like when they would get near a town, they would just kind of hitchhike their way in or something. And then they would just go get more canned food from the grocery store. And I'm not sure if that's the smart way to do it, but that's what he did. And when they finally got off the trail, when they finally were done, he went to a McDonald's and just ordered like $30 of fast food. And then proceeded to eat that. And apparently his stomach was not ready for $30 of fast food after eating nothing but Chef Boyardee for a month, or for a few months, and hiking. So, word of the wise, guys, don't eat McDonald's after not eating anything but canned pasta for over a month. At least that's my understanding. I've had similar things happen. Like when I was really, really training for the boxing and whatnot, I stopped eating a lot of foods. I just kind of stuck to, now you're hungry. I'm sorry. Go eat $30 at McDonald's. Don't eat $30 at McDonald's. I would be hungry, except the Papa John's did not agree with me. And I think it's because their spicy stuff. My body does not like their spicy stuff. Because one of the things that I put on the menu because it looked good was they had like a jalapeno popper side, which is, you know, jalapeno slices and cream cheese stuffed in pizza dough and rolled into a ball. And they have very, very potent jalapenos. And I always forget that. So I ate some of those. And my thought last night was, wow, these are pretty spicy. I probably should stop. And McDonald's kind of sucks. 10 pounds of McDonald's here gets you a meal that does nothing to sate hunger compared to $10 of pizza from a kebab shop. That makes sense. McDonald's food is not a very high tier of food. You know what I mean? And it's primarily salt and butter anyway. So it's not surprising to me that it doesn't sate your hunger. And yeah, I mean, you're never going to go wrong with eating from a local shop. Anytime I can, I try to patronize small businesses in the area that are kind of family run, as opposed to going to a fast food joint, because not only is the food better, even if it is a little more expensive, I'm going to end up a lot happier at the end of the meal. Just because it's going to taste better. It's sometimes fast. Well, to be honest, I'm glad that the McDonald's suck in your areas because it prevents you from wanting to eat McDonald's. Ooh, fried potatoes sounds really good. My wife made a casserole that we lovingly call chicken goop. And I've been eating off that for most of the week. It's pasta mixed with a bechamel sauce, and then it has like chicken, diced up chicken and vegetables and cheese in it. And I think I'm making it sound fancier than it is. But it's one of my favorite meals because it's really rich and it's incredibly filling and it's really cheap. So that's what I've been eating off of for the most part. Yeah, I think... I don't know, is that reading is brighter? Oh yeah, I probably ought to do the other bits. When I first got on, I asked Pilkey what he thought about the brightness, whether or not her outfit popped or had enough contrast on it, and he said that it's kind of dull and everything is kind of washed in together. Not his words, my interpretation of his words. And so right now, I'm trying to work on making the purple parts pop a little more. And I think, by and large, I'm succeeding. Well, that's way too bad. But yeah, like I mentioned before, this is kind of it's not really a commission because I'm not getting paid for it. I'm doing this because it's content for stream. But this is a set of Zephyrim that my buddy Soft Servo bought for his wife, and they don't have really the time to paint it. So I'm going back and trying to do as good a job as I can on them, just so she has some pretty flying angel ladies with murder in their eyes that she can put on like a shelf or something. I think that can remain relatively dark because that's going to be in shadow and obscured. Unfortunately, I've made the mistake of using a GW brush that I've kind of beaten up, so things are not showing up as well as they could. But hopefully this is reading a little better, a little less washed out. It's not. I love the lights for me. I do not love the lights for the camera, because the lights for the camera are making everything a whole lot darker. She's actually considerably brighter in real life. I think what I'll do is I'll get some final shots of her, and with my camera phone once I finish, and then I'll put them up on the Discord, and then anyone in there can tell me whether they think she needs some more work. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll just about do it for her. Oh yeah, we gotta drive. No, I'll drive her for sword later. That one done. Back in a few minutes. Going from your hobby room to your office. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, guys, just don't buy $50 worth of Papa John's and then try and eat it all in one night. I should be watching it anyway because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm already having some health problems with cholesterol and blood pressure. So I probably shouldn't be trying to eat $50 worth of Papa John's in one night. I'm not in my 20s anymore. But yeah, let's see what I can do here. I hit this with like a black purple mix, and then I hit it again with the purple mix, and then I hit it with a wash, which dulled it down tremendously, which is kind of what I wanted. But now I need to build it back up because she is way too dark, and it's, other than the silver, it's kind of making her look very samey. And I know a good amount of this is user error. So I'm going to try and figure out how I can make her look a little, make parts of her armor and her robe pop a little more. I mentioned this earlier, I think probably on a previous stream, but I am having an incredible amount of fun painting all of the little details on her though, on these guys. So it just really makes me want to paint a Sisters Army again. They're such a neat faction. They're not one I think I'd ever want to have land on my planet, but God, are they cool. Games Workshop really nailed the aesthetics on these guys. There we go. That's definitely making her robes pop more. So what are you guys up to today? Appreciate y'all popping in to hang out with me for a bit, but I'm curious, what do you have planned for your Saturdays? I know for some of you it's a little later in the day. It's about 9 o'clock where I am, but oh crap. I think my wife might have texted me and I never answered her. Give me a moment, please. I don't want to be into wifey. Okay. Okie dokie. One moment. Okie dokie, I'm back. Yeah, I feel kind of bad because she was having an issue last night. She had an issue on Thursday where she was struggling to fall asleep because I think I've mentioned this before, but it's been a fairly decent stretch of time since my wife and I have been apart. Last January, so over a year ago, she went back down to Durham to purchase a car during the week. And that was really the last time that we were apart since she moved in with me a year or two before that. And while she was there, she got wicked food poisoning from, you guessed it, a McDonald's. And so she hasn't eaten at a fast food joint since. Her stomach is so traumatized from how sick she was that like the thought of fast food turns her stomach. So that's a big reason why I haven't eaten fast food in a while. But she has chosen not to. And that's absolutely fair. It's probably healthier for both of us. It's definitely healthier for both of us in the long run. But that's the last time we were not basically together, right? And so she went down there this week, or this Thursday, and apparently was really struggling to fall asleep on Thursday evening because she's just so used to sleeping next to me that her body was very confused as to why I was not there. And so I was hoping last night she got a better night's sleep because she's at a convention where she can make contacts and money, and those are both good things. So hopefully she will continue to do well today because she apparently had a fairly successful yesterday. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit this all with the silver, just to bring some brightness back to it. Now, something I'm increasingly bad with is making sure that these are solid enough layers, because I can definitely see that I'm pushing around a lot of the paint, and it's mainly medium, not a lot metal, but I think it's gonna work okay. Actually, one moment. I'm very popular this morning. Awesome. Welcome back. Sorry, I was answering some private messages. Okay, let's go ahead and hit that. Clean off a mess. I'm working on another one of the fly ladies because I think they got the other one to what I would consider acceptable brightness. And actually, if I can finish these today, I can bring them back over. I was just invited to dinner by Soft Servo because he moved into a new house with his family. And I've been over there a few times, but it's always been to kind of help them, because my father was a remodeling contractor, so I know a little bit more about just kind of doing simple tasks, not simple tasks, but basic tasks like that. Not basic tasks, my bad. Trying to think of the right words. Certain remodeling tasks than they do. Like, they had a really horribly done patch job in their bedroom wall. And since I've been working with drywall for the past 10 years, I'm pretty good at mudding and helping make sure that the seams look clean. So I went over to their house to help them with that. But I haven't actually seen the house now that they've moved in and kind of made it their house. So he's inviting me over for dinner. And I was just kind of responding to that text. I'm gonna sound really old in a second, but the ease of communication is one of the most amazing things that, like, cell phones and the internet have brought. At least in my lifetime. I think it's so cool how much easier it is to reach out to someone and just get a response. You know what I mean? I know that there are a lot of negative things that come out of that, especially on the internet, but just being able to appreciate how much more rapidly we're able to talk to one another blows my mind. And I mean, on top of that, it just makes being able to do really cool things so much easier. I would never have learned as much about painting as I know. I would never have met a lot of you guys. I would never have met any of you guys without this stuff. So it's so cool to me that things like the internet and wireless communication have allowed us to do these kind of things. I feel like in a lot of ways my life would be less fulfilled if I didn't know about these. Like, I met my wife online, and you know, being married to her is cool. I love my wife. I seriously do. She's the best. So just knowing that I was able to do that because something like the internet exists makes it all worth it to me. To me personally. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot of terrible things that people do on the internet, but I am not counting that because they can all go pound sand. Okay. I can go back there because I don't need it right now. But yeah, so I'm going to continue working on making the purple on this model pop because I've realized that there are things that are way too dark on her, and it's really washing out the ability to see some of the cooler details on the model. And hopefully I'm able to get this up bright enough to make it look really good. Okay, is there anything else that... Probably a little brighter. Probably hit some of this again just to really give it that third layer of depth. I gotta say, one of my favorite things to paint there are two things that I just get unlimited joy in painting. Last weekend you went to a painting workshop, you're really hyped in it. Very cool. That's something I want to do. I want to go to Adepticon or something, pretty much solely so I can go to these painting shops and learn from these incredible painters, because I'm not going to claim to be self-taught. That's kind of foolish given how much I look up on the internet. I don't have a whole lot of direct instruction from people outside of Soft Servo giving me his beginner tips when I first started. But I'd love to go to a painting workshop and get some really hardcore critique from people who are, you know, who have considerable knowledge in this hobby. Because I feel like right now I'm just kind of trying to teach myself and then compare results. Sorry about that. You have a chance to go to a workshop from Jarhead, go. Will do. Yeah, I don't feel like there are a lot of bad workshops, but if I get specific recommendations, I'm definitely going. I think I know of Jarhead. I've heard of them. They do really, really good stuff. And of course, like I said, I don't have a preference of who I go to see, because I feel like, especially at my level, anyone who has been painting and has knowledge in this form, it's definitely one of the things of like, you all have something to teach me, whether it's the style I want to learn or whether it's a style that'll help my style get better. You all have something to teach me, so I would love to see what you've got and learn from the knowledge tree kind of stuff. That's actually a thing I kind of wish more people were open about. I've known too many people that are just like, nope, I know exactly what I need to know and what I want to know, and anything else is useless to me. And it really isn't, you know? I mean, I understand people may not want to quote-unquote waste their time learning something that they don't feel is useful, but I've really, I mean, this is nothing, this is not a hot take. It's an old aphorism, you know? You don't know what you don't know. And so I feel like if you have a chance to learn from someone who's more knowledgeable than you on a subject, just go ahead and learn it, man. If you don't ever use it, okay, cool. But you're already there. So why be highfalutin about it, and why discount their knowledge? At the very worst, you're going to get a pleasant experience learning something that you would otherwise not thought of. And at the very best, you're going to learn something incredibly useful that's going to help you be better at whatever that subject is, right? Like when I worked remodeling construction with my father, I never cared about remodeling construction. I didn't really give two shits about it. It was just a job. But the amount of knowledge I've gained about home maintenance and just basic construction has improved my quality of life so much. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Yes, knowledge is free. It really is. And it's really hard to impress that on high schoolers, but I'm doing my best. So many of them do not give two flying shits about what we're talking about in school, and I get that, because it's like, when are you ever going to need to know about Odysseus again? When is this ever going to be useful information for you? You're most likely never going to work. I mean, most of the students I teach are barely literate to begin with, and I don't mean that to be mean to them. I've talked about it a few times on this, but like, they're already low. I teach students that are generally years behind on their literacy and writing. And so
having a curriculum that tries to teach them the Odyssey and Romeo and Juliet, which are both written in a style of English that is like many degrees detached from the nom de guerre for them, it's impossible. I might as well be teaching it to aliens, because everything about it is just so foreign to them. Even the universal concepts are so bland and blasé with how they've been watered down by the curriculum. It's like, who cares? And so it's been a real struggle to try and make it relevant to them. And I think the only reason why they're halfway interested is because I put on like the most insane dog and pony show I can while I'm up there. But hopefully they're getting something out of it. I do know that they all think Shakespeare's a creepy pedophile now because of just how intense Romeo and Juliet is. And I find that to be incredibly funny.
By the way, guys, if you weren't aware, Shakespeare wrote some of the most vulgar humor I've ever heard. And it tickles me to no end that he got away with it, and that now he's treated as cultured and sophisticated because he was really fancy with how he said naughty things. My buddy Soft Servo, I'm going to always introduce him that way because that's how my brain is working right now. He studied Shakespeare a lot more intently than I did in college because he has an actual degree in English and I do not. But he definitely knows a lot more about it than I do, so instead of relying on this homogenized textbook that removes all of the vulgarity of Shakespeare, he has a personally annotated version of Shakespeare's works that has all of like the horrifying information in there, and that just makes teaching with him real fun because Shakespeare said some pretty bad things. They weren't like, well, they were problematic, but they weren't problematic in a way that makes Shakespeare problematic, right? It makes his characters problematic, but that was his intent. He wanted them to be issues. And that's kind of what makes it fun. It's like, no, Shakespeare was not this horrible sexist who believed in these things, at least not that I'm aware of. It's that he made characters who were horrible sexists that believed in these things, and they were not meant to be cheered. They were supposed to be satire. And that's like the funniest thing in the world to me. Okay. Trying to... And see, this is something that I need to get better about. And this is something that I really want to talk to someone who's very, very experienced with painting in. And it might even be you guys. Because I'm pretty sure most of you have been painting longer than me. But like... How do blending? How do people get these amazing, creamy, ultra smooth blends between different colors? I don't have a whole lot to compare to because honestly, in my area, I don't talk to a whole lot of people at the game store I go to, but photos do a really good job of hiding what I think are very egregious attempts at blending. And and the camera especially, like the camera that I'm recording this through right now, does a great job of hiding some of the rougher textures and some of the rougher boundaries and blending. So I don't really have a good point of reference for like, am I doing a good job blending or is the camera just lying to people, you know? So I will say, and I mean this is pretty much an open invitation to just critique me to shreds. If you guys see that something I'm doing looks rough or something that I'm doing could be better, you know, call me out on it. I'm not going to take it personally. My self-worth is not tied to my ability to paint. And so if anyone has any constructive criticism on how to do better on anything you see me doing, please throw it at me. Like, I'm real proud of how far I've come with non-metallic metal, but my non-metallic metals still don't look that great. Does not look that great. So if anyone has any tips on how to make it better, I would love to hear them. And like Soft Servo has given me tips because he noticed with the last Custodes unit I was doing that the
the contrast on it was a little too sharp because I had these really large dark swaths on the guy, and it seemed like he was just very trimmed, just barely trimmed with the gold, and it really didn't sell the shininess of the Custodes armor. It just made it look like he had really dark shadows and really bright highlights. So it's like, okay, I need to figure out how to do better at bringing out the golden shine of these guys rather than dark shadows and bright highlights. So I promise, if anyone has any constructive criticism or advice to give me, I will gladly listen to it and read it. If you're just going to come on here and say, hey, that painting looks like shit, then that's not helpful. I would prefer helpful, please. Which thankfully I haven't had any of that. The only language I've had to censor on here has been bots advertising they can get me more followers. It's like, I don't want those kind of followers. I want the followers who either enjoy being here and just kind of chilling out while I paint things, or who are genuinely interested in communicating and chilling and talking. I don't need followers to create internet clout. It's like, I've held a job for 10 years. I'm married with a house and pets. I think I've succeeded. Says the man who's too scared to use his health care. But that's okay. What am I doing up here? What am I doing up here? More purple. More purple. And actually, here's a question for anyone who might be able to answer it. Brush maintenance. How do you brush maintenance? I know the basics of, like, always clean your brushes after you use them. Use brush soap to make sure they maintain a point. Be gentle with your bristles, because otherwise they're going to fall out and then you're going to lose your tip. I've gotten all of that, and I've tried all of that, and I've been really careful. I've been a lot more careful recently, or at least I feel like I've been a lot more careful. But, like, I'm already seeing, I've only used this one for about a month, but I'm already seeing that the tip is going. You know what I mean? Because compared to one of the other Citadel brushes I have, and again, this has only been about a month, you can clearly see that there's been a depreciation. There's been there's less of a tip. The longer bristles have fallen off. Get some barber pulling going on. I don't know what that is. Barber pulling. See how it's twisting? Oh, is that what I'm doing wrong? Should I not be twisting it? So just straight back then. Oh. See, I'm learning. Thank you. No one has ever told me not to do that. I've actually always do straight pull and rotate. Wait, so when you brush up, straight pull and rotate? Because that is kind of what I'm doing. Okay, so I just need to be more gentle, because I'm definitely I'm kind of doing more like this. Okay, not like that. Straight pull only. And then rotate, and then pull again, like that. Thank you. This is really helpful to me, because, like I said, I kind of... yeah. Okay, I got you. Okay, so you have helped me. Thank you. Because I already learned I was being rough with my brushes, and that's why my Winsor and Newtons died. And so I was being more gentle at never barber stripe a brush. You will kill it. Fantastic. Thank you for that knowledge. I did not know that. I was wondering, because especially a couple days ago, I saw someone, and they had like a perfect Citadel brush. And they claimed it was 13 years old. And all I could think of is, what sorcery are you doing here to keep that thing alive? Because I've been using this for a month, and you can see what my results have been. Thank you. I have been helped. I have obtained knowledge. That definitely explains a lot. And I guess that makes sense, because the twisting motion acts as a pulling motion. Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. You can throw it in the Discord, and I'll just click on it and save it. I mean, if anything, it's made it so I've had to compensate for the lack of a pointed tip, and it's made some aspects of my painting better. But at the same time, I'd rather not rely on that stuff.
Okay, I heard some clicking. I hear some clicking. Is this on the Discord? Heck yeah! Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm definitely going to use this because that's been my biggest problem is that I go to... Hey, Angus. Hey, buddy. I brought my dog downstairs today because I didn't want him being upstairs by himself. And I guess he decided that he needed some attention, so now he's next to my chair. Yeah, if you guys, by the way, same thing. I've been painting now for about 3.5, maybe 4 years. The timeline is getting weird. But if you guys have any helpful links for anything, throw them in the Discord. If you've got a video that really helped you with learning a skill, then go ahead and throw it in the Discord. I don't know if there's any real issues with doing that. I think not. But like, if my Discord is going to be anything, I like the fact that you guys are showing off paint jobs in there. But I'd love for it also to just be a place of learning, where we can kind of pool together the resources that have helped us the most. Right now, this video is me talking while I pet my dog because I feel like he deserves more attention because he is a good boy. It is a tool, yeah, exactly. Treat it well. If you don't, then you're going to be damaging a tool. It's something I'm not going to claim I've struggled with ever since I started. Actually, of all things, the thing that taught me to like respect my equipment was doing Japanese martial arts, which I thought was really neat. Oh yeah, they definitely do cost money. I'm very happy that I haven't opened up my replacement Winsor & Newton, because I do have another one. I have another number 1 since I ruined my last one. And I haven't opened it yet because I was afraid of ruining it. So, I'm happy that you sent me that stuff, that you have enlightened me before I've started using it. Because now I can go ahead and break that thing out and start using it, and hopefully it will last considerably longer now that I'm not destroying it. Paint will flow better too. That's... God, yes, please. I'm doing my best, but I can always use some help. Like I said, I don't understand people who just refuse help. Especially in something that they want to be good at. Thank you, appreciate it. I kind of feel like that metric is a little strange. Like, you know, if you're having fun and you're being safe, then you're always doing great, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Okay, let's see what I'm doing here. Yeah. Did not know that. It does make sense, though. Did you know refusing help can be a sign of Asperger's or autism? That makes sense, because my understanding about both of those is that, there's like a rigid thought line behaviorally, and it's like it needs to be done X way, and if it's not done X way, then it's wrong, and that creates like emotional turmoil. Or at least not asking for help when you need it. Yeah, I did not know that either, and I'm happy you've told me that as well, because it definitely makes sense. Because I work with students. It's also because you might not realize someone else has knowledge you have. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Going back to my work for a second, one of the things that I try and do, and I definitely want to keep improving on, is that, you know, as a teacher, it's our job to help teach. You don't have, yeah. Is to help teach. And generally, I'll go around and I'll ask students, hey, are you doing okay? Do you need any help? And most of them are pretty good about saying, oh yes, can you help me with X? Or, no, I'm doing fine. But I feel like I could be a whole lot better about possibly, you know, engaging a bit more with the students and trying to not necessarily give them help even if they say no, but give them like a little tip to help them reach something quicker. So even if they're not getting unsolicited, or even if I'm not like shoving my way in to give unsolicited advice, I could still probably help them. I don't know. I don't like teaching the subject I teach very much. I was kind of shoehorned into it because of situations, but I do want to make my students' suffering as minimal as possible. And so anything I can do to help push them along so they're not doing a victory lap in my class the next year is generally greatly appreciated. And that's definitely a thing, is a lot of students are very quiet and reticent about asking for help. And I don't know if it's just because they hate the subject or if it's because they don't know how to ask, but that's something I want to be really good at. The Complete Guide to Asperger's Syndrome by Tony Atwood. I think I know of that book. When I was, whoops, I did it wrong. When I was going through the education process at the school I went to, they were very big about trying to help teachers to be, like, prospective teachers know that, like, school isn't just, or being a teacher isn't just how you remember it. It's not just enjoying talking about books with your English teacher. There's a lot to it, and there are a lot of people with different needs and conditions, and you've got to be cognizant of that. So that's actually something I should probably do more of, especially since I work with so many kids who do have individualized education plans, as they call them, and underlying conditions. I'd rather be good at helping them than be good at teaching the content that I'm supposed to teach. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's very much true on my end. Where are you going, Angus? You going exploring again? I think my dog may want to go back upstairs. So if you give me a second, I'll be back, but I'm gonna go ahead and after I finish doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and let my dog go back upstairs because he keeps going over to, like, the middle area of the basement and just standing there and staring at the stairs. So I don't know if he's just trying to move around or if he legitimately wants to go back upstairs. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna see if talks about kids and I'm just like, oh, that was me, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, at least now you have that knowledge, right? It's better to have it now than never. Okay, so I'll be right back. Give me a second. I'm gonna see if my dog needs to go back upstairs. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, he almost, like, ran up the stairs when I asked him if he wanted to go back upstairs and he saw me moving. So he was very patient. He was very cool. He stayed down here with me for a bit, but he wanted to be back upstairs. Okay. I think, especially now with my new brush maintenance knowledge, I can go ahead and switch over to the other Citadel brush that I had, and this one can go into an early retirement because I destroyed the poor thing. Okay, let's see. Get a little more brightness on the highlight. Get a little more brightness on the highlight. I was not expecting to be putting in this much work on these ladies, but my initial coat was so dark I would be remiss if I handed them back to Soft Servo's wife. Like, here you go. This is what I did. Okay. Hopefully my mic's back on. Did I turn it? Yep, everything's good. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad that mental health is something that we're still trying to figure out so fervently right now, because it just shows how much of a major disservice we've done to people for, you know, decades. And on a much smaller scale, one of the best examples I can think of, and it's not even mental health related, it's just the assumptions and biases that we walk in with. In the United States, this is purely a racism thing, but like, or a poverty thing, either way. We've just now started to realize that a major reason that students of color underachieve or are behavioral issues is because they can't see. Not all of them, but a lot of them have undiagnosed, like, oh my gosh, what is it called when you're nearsighted, but it's because your eye is misshapen? I have it. You know what I mean? They don't go to their eye checkups because they don't have the money to go. And so they have these undiagnosed issues with their eyes, and then they can't see the board, and astigmatism, thank you, yes. And so it's been a constant thing. Even in my classrooms, I'll have kids who, at the beginning of the year, they come in without glasses, and then they're just immediate issues because they're bored in class. And no matter the amount of like, hey, look at the board, or hey, eyes up front, or whatever, which is not the right way to deal with it, but the only time they would ever seem to calm down and do work is if I would go over specifically in one-on-one with them. And then they have the free eye exams because we live in a lower income district, and then they have glasses, and then suddenly they're excelling in the classroom. Obviously they have some built-in behaviors from 9 years of it, but their achievement levels just skyrocket. They go from being like F and D students to being, you know, C and B students, which I think is a great achievement given that they're X number of years behind on their education. And so it's like, it's the same with kids who, you know, have undiagnosed autism or undiagnosed ADHD. And then we have these idiot teachers that are like, that don't understand what that means, and they think it's all fake, which scares the hell out of me that there are teachers who think that, you know, ADHD and autism are fake, and they don't bother to learn how to accommodate those students. And so now the students hate being in there and they act out worse. Yeah, pretty much. Back in my day, if a student acted like that, we'd just slap him in the head. And it's just seen as like behavioral problems instead of what it really is. And I mean, the best example I can give you guys is we've got a student in one of our classes that has some severe emotional issues, and there are certain ways that you can and cannot talk to them, right? And if you listen to some people, it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you are letting this student dictate how you talk to them. They've got you trained, don't they? And it's like, no, it's that they have an emotional block because they are emotionally immature because of their how they grew up. And screaming at them is not going to help them. And we've come to an understanding with this student. They're incredibly smart, and when they have the right mindset, they will bust their ass in our class, even if they hate the content. But they have certain days where something has swung their mood negatively, and everything sets them off. And they've learned that if they just tell us, don't talk to me right now, like, okay, I'll leave you alone and we'll get you caught up later. And they just kind of brood over in the corner because of whatever they're dealing with, and they're fine. And then most of the other days, so a grand majority of the time they're in class, they're head down doing their work. I had the same student missed like all of the essay prep days we had for a major assignment. And so they were coming in on test day pretty much with no material. And we just kind of explained what needed to be done. And they banged out the essay in like 45 minutes. They finished before anyone else because they understood what they needed to do. But a couple days ago, they got into a fight that was so bad that there was, blood everywhere because someone didn't know how to talk to them and they were having a bad day, and so they reacted badly. You're not able to deal with social situations by instinct. You need to think about it, so it's a constant mental strain. I bet.
That's the worst part about it for students that have autism, Asperger's, especially at a place like a school where you've got a bunch of other people who aren't emotionally mature enough to really, you know, process those things. And so they immediately assume the worst because they've been trained to assume the worst. So I'm happy that by and large students find my room to be a safe space. And that, you know, as an adult in their life, I can be someone who isn't constantly looking down on them or threatening them because they're not acting, quote, how they're supposed to act. Welcome to Miniature Painting, guys, where I complain about how our school system treats children with mental conditions. You try and, yep. That actually is something I really appreciate about my school, is that the amount of bullying that happens is really minimal. And this is kind of crappy to say, but it's horizontal. Which all bullying bad, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that, well, this bullying is good because it's horizontal. But like the students don't punch down. Very few, if any, of the students at the school punch down. They don't pick on kids that are clearly worse off than them in some way, shape, or form. And when they do, because of some lack of knowledge or lack of understanding, the other kids immediately kind of are like, no, that's not okay. Last year, I had a student that was partially deaf, and so she had a speech impediment, right? And he didn't speak much in class. And when she did, it was very quiet, and it had, I don't know what to call it, but it had the lisp, the speech impediment that some deaf people have with and whatnot. And so one time she finally did speak up because some of the other students were talking about something that she knew about personally, and she was like, oh yeah, so and so is blah blah blah, because it was someone they knew. And the other kids kind of froze for a second because they hadn't heard her voice. And most of them recognized, oh, she had X, and so they just kind of listened and went, okay. But one student, oh, how works school at Corona in the USA? I'm from Germany. Not sure what you're asking there, Montravon. I apologize. How worked school at Corona? Are you talking about with COVID? Everything got shut down, and we did things via online chat rooms that were sanctioned by the school. So we used Microsoft Office. It kind of worked. Yeah, our schools were closed, but everyone had a laptop that was distributed by the school, and they all had Microsoft Office in them. So kids were expected to log on, listen to their video lecture, and then do whatever assignment. We also had this program called Canvas, which is completely online, completely digital. And it's become one of my favorite programs just because it makes keeping up with grades and assignments so easy. The program itself was not particularly effective because a lot of the kids in our area, they don't have a very strong relationship with school, so they just kind of wouldn't show up. Or they would show up and listen and have the lecture on while they were doing other things, and then they would, not do the work. But that was for about a year, and then we got back to school, and now we've been playing incredible catch-up since then. But COVID was a worldwide phenomenon. I'm not too surprised by that. But yeah, they had the one kid who was deaf, spoke up. Most of the kids were like, oh, okay, she has X. And one student decided to laugh at her and mock how she spoke. And immediately, everyone just kind of turned to this child and went, no, that's not okay. And that shut him down immediately. So if there's any silver lining to Becco, you use it as a teacher at a university? Cool, I'm glad that it's being used there. It's not the best program in the world, but I feel like it's a huge step up from what they were having us use, which was just Microsoft Office. Yeah, punching down is awful, and I'm glad that it's widely recognized that punching down is awful. Because like I said, when I was in high school, it was kind of expected in a lot of cases that you always picked on those that were, a notch or two below you.
but that was in the early 2000s. Much better the program than the program at the school of my daughter. I hope so. I'm glad. There are some really good programs. There are some really bad programs. Okay, so I think by and large I'm done with these guys, except for one last thing. I wanted to do something that I thought was going to look neat. They've got the flight stands. I originally wasn't going to use the flight stands until I noticed that they actually have like a little scoop that fits right under the jetpack, so I glued them on. But yeah, that is definitely a good thing. At least you were able to fend off most of the worst of it. But what I kind of want to do is I want to take some quote-unquote armature wire, in this case just bent up paper clips, and I want to attach them to the jet streams, like to the exhaust vents, and then I want to take some what the heck is it called? Cotton batting, and make it look like there are smoke trails coming off of it. I don't know. Maybe I should look up how other people do this, but I feel like would I need to have armature wire in each one of the jet exhaust vents, or do you think I could get away with one or two and just having big plumes of cotton, quote-unquote, smoke coming out of them, and just use the middle armature wire on each side as the structural frame? What do you guys think? I mean, this would also preclude me going upstairs and getting some cotton batting, but you don't know? Well, that's fair. Because yeah, I don't like the flight stands. I think they're kind of silly. I'm happy that they ended up working out for this model, but they're fine for what they are. But yeah, what I think I'm gonna do, because that was my original thing. Like I said, no flight stands. We're just gonna jam these up through the base and have like 4 of them on each side, so that they were very seriously supporting the Zephyrim, and have them like glued in here, and that way I could just attach cotton to them. I could like glue cotton to them, and that would act as the support and create a good plume of jet smoke coming out of them. So I think I'm gonna do that, which means I probably need to bend it about here. Yeah, I can bend it right there. And we're gonna do some experimentation, guys, and hopefully I won't screw. Can I 3D print transparent plastics from flames? No, because I don't have. The last time I tried to use clear resin, it ended up being one of the most disastrous things that I've ever done. It made a huge mess everywhere. It never fully cured because I never bothered to get the exposure test dialed in properly. And everything I own now... Yeah, this was entirely my fault, don't get me wrong. But, like, my wash and cure station is still coated in it, in, like, this sticky residue. Some other parts of the printer are coated in it. I don't want to deal with clear resin anymore. I tried it once, I got burned pretty badly. And until I can get someone to really vouch for it, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. Other people do make printable, like, smokestacks, flight bases. But if I can help it, I'd rather make it myself. Because, like, don't get me wrong, some of it is really cool. Like, we've got these ones, right? These are really neat, and they worked fantastic for what I needed them for. But my biggest thing is that I kind of like the idea of using the cotton batting. That was like the big inspiration for this. So I would need to find first of all a file for the Zephyrim, which I don't think exists. I don't know anything about 3D modeling yet because I keep saying that I'm going to learn how to do it, and then I never get around to it. But I just realized this guy is not in Gravis. This guy is in Gravis. Why didn't they just put them in Gravis? Because the Gravis jetpacks actually look pretty hot. I don't know, whatever. But anyway. Anyway, I don't think that there are STL files for the flying nuns and their jetpacks. So I'm kind of reticent to try and do that because I don't know enough about 3D printing or 3D rendering to make them myself. So what I think I'm gonna do, and I like the idea of the cotton plumes. It's something I've never done before and I'd like to give it a shot. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to basically attach these like here and then just get a whole ton of cotton batting and throw them in there. And we'll see how that works. I think maybe I should go a little bit closer to the interior. That way, I'll have a lot more room on the outside to poof it out. That should work. Okay. We're about to find out because I'm about to ruin these young ladies. Okay, that sounded wrong. I am about to ruin these young ladies' jetpacks. Okay, let's mix up the glue nice and mixy. But yeah, I also don't have any materials to actually make any kinds of molds for this. Soft Servo actually tried to do that. He made some molds for resin casting, and while they were neat, they ended up being a colossal mess, and he ended up giving up on them. Boop that in there. But yeah, if I were a little more crafty, I would definitely think of doing that. But today, unfortunately, is not that day. Especially since I found out I'm actually going over to their place for dinner this evening. So I'd like to get this done today, if possible. Okay, well that's fine. Thank you for showing up for the stream. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, you have a nice day too. Hope you had fun while you were here. I saw an AVE making molds from stale bread or something. Oh, that seems like it could be a problem, but I'm not going to say otherwise because they obviously know more about it than I do. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and make another one. I'm going to take this paper clip. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and glue the bottom down too. I'm going to warn you guys, crafting with this stuff is way out of my wheelhouse. I know how to make things out of wood. But yeah, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to have it glued on there and there. And then when the glue kind of sets up, I'm going to take some cotton batting. And I'm going to kind of glue it around that and have the smoke plume coming off. I think that'll work okay. Speaking of crafting and miniatures, I finally kind of just decided to do it. I went on Netflix. It sounds like a bigger thing than it is. I went on Netflix and I finally watched Missing Link. I really like Laika's movies, and I've only seen like 3 of them. I've seen Coraline, I've seen Paranorman, and I watched Kubo. And I liked all 3 of them, but the 2 that really didn't hit a note for me when they first came out and I didn't have much interest in was The Box Trolls and Missing Link. And so I didn't see them. And I'm really sad because apparently Missing Link was a colossal box office flop. It was one of the 3rd worst grossing movies ever. Because I think it made like 12 million and it cost over 120 to make. And I know that the CEO of Nike is the one that's kind of bankrolling those movies because like it's his son's passion project. And from what I understand, the man lost another son and basically decided that he was going to do everything he can to make his other son be able to fulfill his dreams. So he bankrolled Laika for a long time, and they were able to make some truly great movies as far as I was concerned. But I never went around to seeing Missing Link. And so I finally gave it a watch yesterday, and I'm kicking myself for waiting so long to see that damn movie, because I thought it was fantastic. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, but I really liked it. The humor was definitely a bit dated because it came out a few years ago, but I thought the animation was beautiful. I thought the storyline was pretty darn good. I really liked it. So if you guys want to see a cool movie with stop motion, Missing Link is definitely not a bad place to go. And also, if you haven't seen it, I swear, please, you're not too big into movies? That's absolutely fair. They're not for everyone. I have certain ones that I do. I'm not gonna claim like I'm a movie buff or anything. I miss more movies than I watch. But there are some that catch my eye, and then I kind of fixate on them. And I've always, if you cannot tell, I've always liked the idea of miniature things that just show off the scale, that you can just do really cool things with scale. And so, being able to watch some of the great artistry that goes into making the stop motion films has been something that I've loved for years and years and years. So, yeah, that one will go up there. So knowing that there was a company that kind of dedicated itself to that medium immediately caught my eye. And while their movies have not been flawless by any means, there are definitely some issues with dialogue and pacing in a lot of their movies. But I just appreciate the ridiculous amount of artistry and time and passion and creativity that goes into making them and trying to figure out how to create these miniature representations of life and make it look believable, you know? And that was a big thing with puppetry. I was really big into puppets and like ventriloquist dummies and the like as a kid. I was no good with them, but I thought the idea of them was really cool, breathing life into things that aren't alive and making them feel lifelike. It does kind of explain my passion, or my at this point, extreme Marvel and Star Wars burn me out. That's fair. I'm really sad that Star Wars became what it became, to be honest. And not because anything was too bad, but they fell into the oh, I'm going to have trouble here. They kind of fell into that Disney grinder. Couldn't get through Endgame. That's because Endgame's like 10 million years long. I appreciated them from a writing standpoint because, you know, Infinity War and Endgame were this big closing arc to a decades-long story that they had been slowly building. And that, you know, while there had been stumbles, it was still, I think this is going to have to go on the end. It doesn't matter. I mean, I heard what you meant, right? A phrase that my friend likes to use. I heard what you meant. So from a narrative standpoint, I was interested to see how they were going to finish off a 10-year-long story arc. But there's so many Marvel movies. It's Tom Clancy's End War game. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. It's oversaturated. And I think that's part of why, like I said earlier, I don't collect movies. I don't watch a lot of movies. I fixate on some of them. I really like certain movies, and those are the ones I go out of my time to watch. Like, I really like the Rocky movies, and I really like the Creed movies, because I do boxing. And so seeing movies that do a fairly faithful job of representing boxing while also having a compelling storyline behind them, that's cool. I like those. And I like some of the Marvel movies. I think that they're well made, and I think they're creative, but I'm not going to go out and see every one of them and shame people who don't. But one thing I will always try and watch is stop motion films. I love stop motion films for the reasons I was just ranting about. And my favorite movie is probably Blue Ruin, which most people don't know about. I've never heard of Blue Ruin. What's it about? I'm curious. Now's the time to talk about a movie that you love. Okay. I hope this turns out okay. I hope this ends up looking acceptable. I'd be really upset if I ended up ruining her miniatures. I'm sorry, I'm looking at how this is turning out, and it's making me anxious. It's probably going to be fine. A revenge story, but very toned down while still having good action. That's great. Those are the best, when you can, especially when you find ones that you really like, that kind of go under the radar, and then it kind of becomes your movie, right? It becomes something that you know about. It's like having an in-joke with friends. It's a movie that you're fond of, and the rest of the world may not know too much about, but you'd be more than happy to recommend it to them. It's like, there was another movie that I really liked that fell completely under the radar. It was a Jet Li film called Unleashed. And yeah. But if that one hit the sweet spot for you, then that one hit the sweet spot for you, right? I've actually never seen a John Wick movie. I've only seen some of the collected action sequences that they put in like, you know, WebM format. So I've seen his big fight in the nightclub, and that's pretty much it. And my understanding is that they're well-loved movies and they're well-constructed, but that's kind of all I needed to see. I thought that it was a really well-constructed fight scene. I appreciated the use of some of the Aikido takedowns that he did, and some of the grappling, and how properly he handled his firearm. But I don't really... They call John Wick Baba Yaga for some reasons. Probably because you should be just as scared of John Wick as Baba Yaga? I don't know. Yeah, those two seem pretty incongruous, but, you know... Weirder things have happened. I saw a meme a little while ago for Warhammer where someone was like, yeah, Mortarian's stupid, I don't like him, I think he's dumb. And then they read Flight of the Eisenstein with a hut that runs around the giant chicken legs. Exactly. Someone read Flight of the Eisenstein and they got to the part where Mortarian is kind of introduced, and then suddenly they were like, he's my boy. He's my stupid, stinky, adorable boy. And I'm not sure why they would think that, or why they would suddenly feel that fixated on Mortarian, but, you know, not gonna yuck someone else's yum. I say that as someone who likes Mortarian. Okay, what am I doing here? This one I might have put in the wrong... No, I did measure it up correctly. It's just, I was trying to jam it onto the wrong one. Okay. Let's see. My goal has become to finish this before I head over to my friend's house this evening. And I was going to stop around lunchtime, so this was going to be an exceedingly long stream for me. But that's okay. My secondary hope is that at some point Doig and Swift will hop online. And when they do, I'm going to go ahead and raid. Because I want to raid them since they're cool people. Weech. Oh, they're already on. And they're playing Sonic Frontiers. Very cool.
What are you going to give me? I'll say, we've already bought Wobble Dogs.
But yeah, I'm not going to do that anytime soon. I want to do something for Swift's birthday, maybe a simple pixel art thing. Yeah, I wanted to find some Warhammer minis to paint up in their style. So like one would be Doig, one would be Swift, but I couldn't think of one for each of them. Like, I'm not really sure what I would paint to be Swift, and for Doig, it's, you know, Bear. Don't know what to do for Bear.
What game is this, Dr. Watts? Nothing.
Fruit?
This is just Doig and I hanging out.
That wouldn't be a bad idea, actually, because she is a bit of a goblin. So that would work real nicely.
Paladino.
Yeah, they are a bit avian-like.
It's birthday. And it's the birthday of our two cats.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go Kroot for her. What should I do for Doig? Someone, I think it was Pilkey suggested for Doig I could do like a Terminator.
Oh my gosh, honestly, you could do it.
And,
You could do it.
I don't know. I think a Terminator would be big enough, but I'm not sure that a Dreadnought. Oh, that's not a bad idea because for Red, one of the other users that pops in here, he wanted me. He was trying to get these Dreadnoughts printed, and they printed them at the wrong scale when he bought it from them, and that ended up being a waste of money. So I offered to print him some new ones and just ship them to him, and so he bought me the STL. Background sound? The background sound might be because I just turned on Doig and Swift to have in the background, and their volume was up a bit loud, so I turned it back down. But let's see. One moment, I gotta find this now because I'm pretty sure I have pictures. The people who did the Dreadnought, they made it as like basically Space Wolves, but they went Space Bears with them. Yeah, sorry, it was a little British lady running around having a good time. Let me see. Where is the bear? Where is the bear? And yeah, my mic is really close to my computer because I have a very cramped setup. Right here. Okay, I think I went ahead and muted them. That way it wasn't being too loud. Okay, let me see. Video capture, window capture. Let's do a window capture. Let's go into here with the Atlan. And so, yeah, I could do that. That could be Doig. I didn't realize there was a mouth inside the bear head. But I could definitely make that one Doig. Just add the antlers. It is a cool model, isn't it? This is the, oh my gosh, the Asgardian chapter that someone made. Or that, not someone made, that's really mean, that Atlan Forge made. They do fantastic models. I really like them. And because of helping Mr. Red a couple of times, I've got some of their models now. So, like, they've got their versions of, like, the Thousand Sons Egyptian theme. They've got Templars. They've got Greek-style guys. I know somewhere they've got some Chaosy dudes, the Hades group. They've got what are essentially space sharks, but very Maori. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, you cannot tell me that's not supposed to be, oh my gosh, I forgot what they're called. How am I forgetting their names? How am I forgetting the Tarbaros? You cannot tell me that's not supposed to be Tarbaros. And yeah, the Kroot have the long rifles. So let's see, Kroot Carnivore Squad. So I could very easily kit bash one of those into like a long paintbrush if I really wanted to. They're a little more bird-like. Well, some of them are a little more bird-like. But yeah, no, this is, as far as I know, this has always been what the Kroot have looked like. I could be wrong. I mean, they do have other Kroot-like models. They have, Kroot. They have the Kroot Hounds. Which just look feral, which is fine. But yeah, so I could 3D print a Dreadnought and make it Doig, and then I could 3D print a Kroot and make it Swifty. That would be very silly. Okay, that's going to go there, because I'm going to continue doing this. It looks like they're going to play more Sonic Frontiers. Okay, so this is going to go right... I keep forgetting that. I need to keep my hands on camera so you can see what I'm doing. I think I'm going to place this one... Longer hair? You have your model somewhere? They might have. In fact, one moment. Did I get rid of the Kroot? I got rid of the Kroot. I've only been into 40K since the very end of 8th edition, so I'm way behind in terms of background knowledge. Wait, well, here's a Krootox rider. Here's a Kroot Shaper. They have slightly longer dreadlocky hair. Oop. Is that what you were thinking of? Was that the kind of hair that you were expecting them to have? There we go. Is that what you were thinking of right over there? And the Kroot Shaper also has slightly longer hair. You can't really see it behind him. Yeah, I think the regular Kroot, the Carnivore Squad, some of them have like longer quills and others do not. So if I were to do this, I'd have to be a lot more careful about it. Okay, let's see. What can I do here? Sorry, I just punched the mic. I think this one could go right here. Yeah. Boop. And I'll just let that stick there for a second. Beautiful. And then, hopefully it won't wobble too much. I don't want that to happen. There we go. Pin that down a little bit.
Thankfully, since this is not going to be, these are not going to be load bearing. If they were load bearing, I would have went ahead and like drilled out some holes so that there was better support. But yeah, since these are not going to be load bearing, I'm going to go ahead and not care too much about how well connected they are. They're just there to provide support and structure for the smoke plumes I'm going to put down. This one will go, yeah, about right there will work. So we're gonna put that. It's okay. These are gonna be the best supported Zephyrin, as long as I stop throwing the paper clips around. But yeah, you've now given me inspiration, especially now that we're so close to their community day. If I can get these things 3D printed and painted by the end of February, or I can hold off a little bit until March, then I can make them some neat little Warhams things. Swifty should have never implied that at one point she was interested, because now it's become like my mission to get them more interested in Warhammer. Because I remember her, because I think this was my fault, because I've mentioned it a few times in their stream. She mentioned that she tried to play Warhammer with her friends when she was much younger. Were links allowed? I keep forgetting. Yeah, I don't care if you do links. I've posted a couple. I've spammed my wife's web store. So if you got links, go ahead and post them. Daka daka daka. Let's see what they got on the JPEG. Yeah, that's an old Kroot shaper, I think. At least it looks like it to me. But yeah, I think it just depends on which one. I think the more prestigious character units are the ones who have the longer hair. Please? Okay, no. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I think it's just that some of them have longer hair if they're supposed to be more important characters. So that just means I'm going to have to go on to the cults and find myself some proxies of Kroots, because I don't want to spend $40 on a box. Oh. That sure is a Kroot. That sure is a naked Kroot. I mean, it's got the longer hair. Its face is definitely Kroot-y. Krooty. Do they have... Oh my goodness, they've got one that's just in, like... It's just a shaman. It's just a shaman. I can do this. There you go. I can put a tuft of a brush at the end of that, and I can paint it yellow with, like, an orange trim. And it's old Swifty. Oh man, that's silly. Okay, they have a whole bunch of... They have a whole bunch of head sculpts. But not very much in the way of just straight bodies. Like, it's a bunch of they've got a bunch of kitbashy head sculpts, which all look fantastic. But they don't have very much in the way of... Wait a minute, I think they have the model that you put up there. Nah, that's not him. They definitely have a slightly less beaky appearance than I remember, even just from, like, thinking about them. That's okay. That was a trunk of a staff. He's a rogue trader. He was a rogue trader model. Yeah, that makes sense. That's something I'm interested in getting back into. Well, not getting back into, but getting into, because whatchamacallit? There's going to be a rogue trader style, like, low fantasy, low fiction version of Wrath and Glory. You had to go to the event to get him. That's fair. I kind of wish they would do less of that. I understand why, but it's like, that's a really, especially with, like, the company champion that they released as as a collectible for going to their thing. It's like, man, it'd be cool if more people could get that model, but apparently not. They've released, like, the Tech Marine and the Apothecary and a bunch of other character models as standalone kits,
but the company champion and surprisingly enough, the Lord of Contagion have not been released as standalone kits. So once the initial box that they came in kind of disappeared, or the event stopped happening, or you know whatever, you kind of can't get it anymore, and that's very agitating. Like, I'm really lucky. I feel like I'm really lucky that I bought a lot of that someone was trying to sell of Death Guard, and they had a Lord of Contagion with them. Because isn't that like the baseline unnamed character for the Death Guard? And it just feels like a model that should be with every Death Guard army. Like, I kind of feel like it should have been in the Combat Patrol over Typhus. As amazingly cool as I think the Typhus model is, I feel like a Lord of Contagion would have just been a better option for that. And I don't think they've re-released them, have they? The Lord of Contagion remains alone in his in the starter boxes. There, middle one, so about an inch back. Look at me getting things almost right. Gonna get some soup. Time for lunch at 5:30. Yeah, I guess so. Wow, you're 7 hours ahead of me? Good gravy. Because it is 10:30 where I am right now. And I know you're using far more universal, or I call it military time. I don't remember the actual name for the 24-hour system. But yeah, no, it's 10:33 in the morning where I am. I've been streaming now for 2 hours. I've been up for 4 because my body apparently hates sleep. Well, in this case, it's because my body hates $50 worth of Papa John's for dinner, which is fair. That was a foolish move on my... I forgot to dry brush their darn swords. That's okay. I can get to that. I can do this. Okay. Let's see. I mean, at least you're gonna microwave the soup. Doesn't Swifty eat hers cold? Cold soup. Okay. The paper clips are gonna go back there. Yeah, if you want any advice on using armature wire, it turns out that crappy paper clips make for a fairly solid armature wire. Because that's all I've ever used. Except for when I was putting together the giant Dr. Livesey, I used coat hanger for him. But for everything else, I've basically used armature wire. Did I not? No, that's... Okay, these are attached. Okay, it looks like I've got some models that need some dry brushing. So, that's what I'm going to do next. And then, even though I kind of wanted to go to lunch, but I feel like I've got some other things I should do before lunch. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call it once I finish dry brushing these guys. And once again, Mr. Motorhead, thank you for the brush maintenance tips. I am using them right now as I put the brush soap through my my paintbrush. Okay, that can go in there. This one, same thing. Man, I destroyed $40 worth of brushes in less than a year. That's upsetting. Hopefully, being better about it from now on will make it so that my brushes last a little longer. On to dry brushing. Blue energy. Let's see what's going on in the other channels. Doop 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 doop
Okay, we're gonna start with a darker blue. Just been using this heavy blue, this Azul Denso, as my blue. I got it as an approximate for ultramarine blue, or a Macragge blue or whatever. And while they were wrong, it has been an incredibly helpful blue for a lot of what I do.
Oh my, how dare you? Excuse you, sir. Excuse you, sir.
We're gonna go ahead and do that. And let's give these guys, yeah, see, like that looks terrible. So let's go ahead and hit it with this darker blue all the way down. And then I'll go back and hit it with something else in a minute. This has a light wash over it, so we're going to go ahead and do kind of the same thing. Hit the metallic with a darker blue. I need to find a way to get some more fans in America. Not because I don't appreciate you guys, but I'm definitely taking up your evenings. And I don't want to do that. Okay, get that with a little bit more blue. And then we're gonna work our way back into a white near the base, where the power cable is emanating the most juice. I will say, I purchased these brushes. These are Army Painter Masterclass dry brushes. $50 would get you like 4 pizzas here. Yeah, that's kind of what it did. The biggest problem is that I had to pay like the service fee and the delivery fee, which I think is stupid. And then I had to pay driver's tip. So between those 3 things, that was an extra $50 US dollars. You know, it ended up being a lot more due to just being nickel and dime via various fees. But unfortunately, the deal I got was delivery only. So it probably didn't save me much anyway. I mean, the Papa John's was right down the street. I could have just driven down there and bought, you know, that many pizzas myself. Okay. Let's see if I can make this a little bit more obvious, because this one is not blue. And I want you to be blue. I probably want you to be blue on camera. The most pizza or 4 pizzas for free within a certain distance. Yep, no, we don't get that kind of love. Because of things like DoorDash and whatnot, and just the general fact that our economy is a lot worse than we want to give it credit for, fees and whatnot have gone through the roof for everything. The United States is the absolute best at pretending that everything is going well when everything is absolutely on fire. Like, one of my favorite bits of news in the local, or that's becoming a thing, is that the Conservative Party of our country wants to solve the labor shortage by lowering the legal working age to 14. So rather than pay employees more, they'd rather just hire younger employees. Yeah, it's just enough to annoy you. Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? That's the first thing people thought of. But no, the Republican Party has unironically said, let's lower the legal labor age to 14, and it's less for the big jobs like that and more for like the service jobs, which obviously not as physically abusive, but you know, we also have this weird idea, because of the phrase "the customer is always right," that it doesn't matter how outlandish your demands are. I know, right? I like that that's exactly where you went, because, yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. Can we pay them in script as well as in a company town? That's kind of what it feels like, right? I mean, that's the thing with, like, Amazon moving into places, is that it basically becomes a company town for Amazon, which, of all things, South Park did a really good episode making fun of. But, no, it's less for labor jobs like that and more for service jobs.
So what it basically turns into is that people my parents' age just don't have enough small children to yell at. Summer jobs for 14-year-olds are fine, but we have laws and regulations. Yeah, we do too. We're supposed to. But like I said, the economy is bad enough, and they instead of, giving people more money, they want to hire smaller children or younger children, which is kind of its own thing. And America's the greatest economy in the world. Junk. I have opinions. I play Warhammer to escape the real world and to laugh at the idea of horrible dystopia. And when we're not there yet, I fear to think of what will happen when we get there. Oh no, this one is not wanting to stick because I keep touching it. Oh no, fell off. I'll let that hold for a second. I also, it looks like I have completely forgotten to do some of the shading. Gonna see if your soup is ready. That's fine. I forgot to do some of the shading on or some of the washing on their homework paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that before I move on. Which means I'm going to have to get the Agrax Wood shade back out. Potentially, I'll ruin a good brush. Since I just washed it, I'm gonna ruin a bad brush. Nope, you're clean. So I only forgot you, huh, lady? Okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead and ruin a bad brush further. Did you ever check out that Blender tutorial? I have not looked at it. I have it saved. It's in my favorites, but I have not actually looked at it. I haven't really had... I don't want to say I haven't had time to do the Blender, but I haven't had the mental spoons to sit down and parse my way through the tutorials. Because I want to learn Blender. Like, I really do. Watching other people sculpt things in Blender and learning how to do that 3D modeling just seems like something right up my alley. That's the kind of thing I like to fiddle with. But at the same time, the beginning steps of it are so daunting to me because there's just so much that it feels like I have to remember. And I have a feeling that video would help tremendously in that aspect. But no, I just haven't had the mental capacity to sit in and be like, okay, I'm going to watch a Blender tutorial and I'm going to work my way through learning Blender. Because when I'm at work, even if I do have... Wait a minute. Even if I do have the time to do it, I'm so mentally drained. Oh my goodness. Huh. One Page Rules just released their March preview. And I'm excited. Yeah, I'd love to do small things. Like the original video that we were talking about was the donut one. And it's like, okay, cool, I'll eventually get to that. But even sitting through like the first video where he's just kind of explaining how to do basic things, even that feels overwhelming to me right now. So I've kind of stayed away from trying to learn Blender just because I don't have the mental capacity for it right now. Eventually I'll get there, but today is not that day. And it's like when I'm at home, that doesn't look good. When I'm at home, I either want to spend time with my wife or I want to paint. And so I don't really have the mental energy to do Blender there either. I mean, a short video is important. Yeah, I could see that. Like, having a short 30-minute lesson would definitely make things feel a little more attainable. There's no blue in there. But, it's just like, I don't know. I think what would probably help me best is, especially because I'm a little older, the videos are great and I love them to death, but having like a step-by-step guide printed out with visual accompaniment would probably be the better way for me to learn this, so I just need to start looking around to try and find that again. Let's get that one nice and bright. There we go. Yeah, I just need to take the time to actually look at it again. Like I said, I feel like especially with the patience and whatnot that I have now, I could do Blender. It wouldn't be a problem. It's just finding the opportune time to do so. I mean, it's like I've got a bunch of shows saved on Netflix that I either want to pick back up or I want to start, and I just can't be bothered to do it because I don't have the mental spoons to deal with it. The fact that I started watching Disenchanted again last night was a big deal because that's been hanging around for over 3 years, I think. That's something that I started and never finished. And it was just because I don't have the mental energy to commit to a TV show. But that is okay. I'll get there eventually. As long as I keep saying I'm going to learn Blender, I'm eventually going to buck up and I'm going to learn Blender. Especially, I keep falling off Disenchantment, there's too many plot threads. It does feel like it's going a whole bunch of places. And how far are you in the show? I'm watching season 4 right now. And I feel really weird in saying this, but I wasn't too fond of the first 3 seasons. So it's like, then why are you watching season 4? Well, it's because I've watched 3 seasons of it. I kind of gotta finish it now. I think the thing I'm struggling with most is that while the world that Groening has created is interesting, and while some of the plot threads he's created are interesting, the way he executes his storytelling, just is like really off-putting to me. I have not watched, I don't know what The Orville is. I'll have to look at it, but I don't know. It's kind of that same thing that I was talking about with certain movies. I'm particular about the TV shows I watch, and it takes me a while to actually get started on them. And something I found out about myself, and it's kind of something I warn people about, is that recommending me things fine, but like really urging me to watch them or to read them or whatever. Seth MacFarlane's take on Star Trek, which is pretty good. I thought that was called like the lower decks or something. And I feel like Seth MacFarlane does get a lot of crap for what he does, but he is a very talented creator. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of his choices, but that doesn't take away from what he has done. Live action Lower Decks. Okay, I got you. I mean, the guy is a humongous nerd. He very clearly has a lot of respect and passion for the things he does like. So I'm not surprised that he was able to take something like that and turn it into something good. How does this Family Guy man make a good Star Trek? I don't know. How does the dad from Malcolm in the Middle become one of the most iconic anti-heroes in the last 20 years? People have some crazy hidden talents. Most new Star Trek is shit. I wouldn't know. I was never into Star Trek growing up, and so it completely missed me. And I mean, that's kind of the same with Star Wars too. When I was a kid, I wasn't super into sci-fi. Oh, it's just because the rest of the quality of the content is just so bad that this is a breath of fresh air, even though it's... Yeah, I could see that. There we go. I think they're not perfect. The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine are good. That's my understanding, is that those are bangers of shows. And like everything else that yeah, I've got some friends who are really into it that didn't grow up with it. They started watching it in their 20s. And they have friends who loved it, but they themselves were just like, yeah, no, it wasn't my thing. And then they watched it, and they're like, now this is my thing. And that's cool. That's great. I have no real urge to watch Star Trek, and I don't know if I ever will. I might finally get a hair up my butt and do so, but but yeah, my biggest thing has always been, for some reason, that if someone recommends me something and they continue to push it, that is the easiest way to get me to never watch it. I know that there's a term for it, and it's mainly used for like juveniles.
Like it's a condition. But that's just how I am. And I think a lot of that draws from being a kid and being forced to read things that I didn't want to read, and it just making me be like, well, now I never want to read that thing. That, you know, stuff like that. Okay. So I'm scared to raid them because they're doing thing and I don't want to pull them out of the game. Though I don't know if raiding them would actually do much right now. I probably only have a few people on stream with me, and that's fine. Do it! Okay. Next question is, how do I raid people? I've only done it once. Don't you just hit like \raid and then the person's name? I'm pretty sure that's it. Actually, one moment. You know what? I have the internet. How do you raid someone on Twitch? Yeah, it's just type \raid and then the name of the channel that I would want to raid. Yep. Oh no, that's real easy. Okie dokie. I might have to do that, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do so because I think they're done. I'm gonna attach once they dry a little better and cure a little better. I'm going to attach the cotton batting to them, and I think I'm going to hit it with an airbrush spray up near the top so it's more like black smoke coming out. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot more I want to do with these ladies. I've got them pretty well painted. They're good enough as far as I'm concerned. I think I did a decent enough job on the energy blades. Like, they show off as the power source I want them to. So it's going to just be a matter of waiting for it to all cure. And then getting that plumage on there. Okay, you're finally settled in. Fantastic. Okie dokie. So yep, I guess that's what's gonna be it, guys. Thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I might end up painting later, but that'll be on my own personal time. Have a great rest of the day. I'm gonna go ahead and raid the Doig Swifts. If you don't know who they are these great animators and illustrators and colorists. They have this really cool overlay that I'd like to do for myself, where they've made like a game engine that they use in Twitch, which allows them to run around and interact with the world and all that kind of stuff. It's really neat. Right now they're playing Sonic Frontiers, so we're gonna get to see that. Thanks again for joining me, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and let me see, can I do this? And I guess I will see you later. Let's see if the Doig Swift. Boom. No problem. Okay, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have a good one, guys.